Are you feeling the pressure rising within you? Feeling like something needs to change? But what? You feel like you have to figure it out now, but the pressure feels like it's creating a film over everything around you, making things blurry and your path seemingly indiscernible. Can we possibly release the stigma or pressure around this for just a moment? I feel like change calls to me often, seasonally, in fact, typically around the seasons of fall and spring. But there are different flavors to this, And sometimes when we're so focused on figuring out exactly what needs to happen, we miss if the change is calling us towards laying something to rest or moving through an evolution. So, for the next 20 minutes or so, will you release all of your expectations around change, around what is better, quote, evolving, or, quote, letting something go, around everything that you think you know, and simply open to an exploration? On today's episode of the Devoted Way podcast, let's go on a journey together and explore the possibilities, frequencies, and pathways of laying something to rest and saying yes to evolution. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles with me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become artful, respectful, and nuanced with your relationship with energy, and live life based on your design. Your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and blood from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. So there's a question that a community member has posed, and the question is, how do you know when you're ready to let something go versus how do you know when something is desiring to be evolved? And so first and foremost, I love to clarify the fact that typically when you are feeling some sort of niggles, right? For myself, I notice my pattern is when I'm feeling the niggles of something needs to change. That's usually the underlying feeling. I don't know what needs to change, but something needs to change. And so let me know which category you go into, right? So you can either be when you feel that, you are the one who completely desires to change everything. Like you go and cut your hair 5 inches, right? Or you go and get bangs, or you go... or you decide that you're going to go and travel for 6 months, right? Like when something needs to change, you physically will change or you physically leave so that the change happens. So you might be in that category. Or if you feel something needs to change, you're the type of person who grabs on really tight and say, nothing is going to change. And so you work extra hard making sure that everything stays the same. And so if I was change, I would hold you around your waist and try to pull you in the direction of change. And you will be grabbing onto the edge of your countertop and you will refuse to move, even if your legs are now off the floor. And you're like, nope, not going anywhere. Change, not happening. So you might be that kind of person, right? Or you might be the type of person who's like, change. Okay, something needs to change. I'm going to burn it all down, right? Everything must go. So you basically sell all of your belongings, or you go ahead and you retire all of your programs. You decide that you are going to completely change your website. So you throw out everything you've done for the past 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years, and you completely start again. So you're that type of person. Burn it all down and let's start again, right? Okay, so you let me know where you are in that firstly, so that we can begin to really address the question, which is when you're feeling the niggles of something needs to change, does that mean that something is evolving or does something need to be let go? So I'm going to specifically here speak about business, but it really can go in all sorts of directions. So depending on what's happening with you, okay? I noticed for myself that this typically happens in the fall and in the spring. So it definitely is seasonal. And there is a very clear cycle for me as to when this happens. And it typically happens, I was speaking to a team member about this, around October and April. And the reason being is that February and March are typically the times where I'm in reflective mode, where I'm looking at my life, I'm looking at my business, I'm looking at best practices and noticing what worked really well, what didn't work so well, where am I heading next? Where am I ready to let certain things, fall away? And so there's a moment of deep reflection that happens in September and in March. But then that means that in October and in April, since I've gone into reflective mode, I'm now in a space of, okay, I've already spent a good month feeling it, thinking it, journaling it, walking with it. And October and April is the time of, okay, well, now what are you going to do with it? Right. So it's that energy. It's the energy of, great, thought about it, felt it, great. What are we doing now? What's happening? And the great mother, the universe, really needs you to figure that out during this time period. And so you might feel a little bit of crunchy pressure right now to understand and take some action. So to lay something to rest to me means that it is time for you to consider that all of that great work that you've done needs to now be honored, and also recognize that you are burying it deep into the earth, not necessarily because it's done, but rather that composting is going to bring forth new information that will then seed into your field, that will then bloom and blossom a little while later, right? So therefore, it doesn't mean it's put to death, right? You're burning it. It's buried. It's no longer doing anything. No, it simply means that whatever that is, whoever you were, the thoughts that you had, the course that you were running, the way that you were showing up in business, that you are laying it to rest and giving it into the earth so that it may compost, break away the different components that really does need to be put to death, so that there's some space for everything else to come back together, create that alchemical process, put it into the seedlings, and allow at the right time in the future to bloom into awareness, to messages, to information to help support you and nourish you a little later on. So that's what I put to rest. What is to then be evolved are the things that I can feel myself heading in that direction, even if I don't know fully what that means, but there's a sense of renewal. There's a sense of deeper commitment. There's a sense of devotion and a clarity that you're being serious in whatever area that is for you, right? So for example, if you have 3 offerings, one may feel like it needs to be laid to rest, meaning it needs rest, nap, right? Put into the earth, because you don't need to do anything with it at the moment. So lay it to rest. Good night. Have a great time. I'll see you maybe later if you ever want to come back and sprout out again, right? Then you might have something else that's like, hello. There's some changes that need to happen. There's an evolution that's occurring. So we need some time and space to consider what this evolution is. An evolution doesn't mean that just possibly little things change. When you feel an evolution and you have no idea what that means, that usually means that there's some big changes. It means you can't look at it linearly. You can't be like, oh, it was a 6-week program. It now needs to be 7 months. And instead of it being for 5 people, it's going to be, or instead of it being for 50 people, it will only be for 5 people. And like, you don't know all of the different evolution, or even the messaging it was about this, but actually it's now going deeper into this. You don't know that. That's the alchemical transformative process that's required when there's an evolution, right? It's like when you grow, you don't know every day how you're going to grow. Or if you have a fur baby or you are pregnant, right? I don't have children, so I don't know the experience of pregnancy, but I used to have a fur baby. So there, every day something different happens. You have no idea what kind of growth is going to happen, but you know for sure there's growth. And at the end of the day, there's going to be some sort of beautiful relationship that happens when there's a more matured state, right? And so what you can do with that space of something that is occurring in your life is to follow the breadcrumbs every day, honor that there is a evolution that's happening, and so therefore embrace the change, no matter what that means. If you hear a niggle, feel a niggle, follow it, notice it. Notice what feels true, what's coming from a space of expectation. Does that make sense? Great. If it doesn't make sense, maybe that's exactly the path you're supposed to take. So that's the evolution bit. And then there's that third space of there's certain changes that are required and you know it to be true already. That is the mature state. That's like that third state, but it feels like it is the second state because it's so much closer to your awareness, but it's not. It's because you allowed yourself time to be like, I don't know, whether you consciously knew that you did that or not. But when you have some real clarity, so for example, if you're like, right now, I know for sure that after every meal, I want to take a 20-minute walk. Or, you know what? I'm very sure right now that I desire to bring forth some more freedom by calling in another vehicle, right? Like there's certain things you know for sure. So great. You can walk and work towards that in a much more strategic way, right? Honoring your prayer, still allowing it to happen in impossible, unexpected ways, but there is a deeper sense of awareness. Versus when you feel like there's change and there's an evolution that's happening, the evolution is going to be a little bit vague, and that's okay. So therefore, for each and every one of you, the first thing is to notice how you relate to change. Why? Because number one, it's going to provide you with awareness around what your typical programming is on how you relate to change. If you're one to want to burn it all down, then maybe it's about walking and pausing. If you're one who resists change a lot, maybe it's about figuring out a way to soften your nervous system and exercise the muscle of changing things, even small, little, tiny things, one step at a time, so that you can begin to notice how that is. If you're one who loves to physically change, then notice why that might be beneficial, why it might not be, and then continue to do the thing. If you know that changing your hair or redoing the way the furniture is in your home is actually beneficial, great. It's simply putting awareness to it so you know, and then you can do that, right? I know for me, when great big changes happen, I have like a whole different way that I work with my wardrobe. I have to get a couple of new sacred things for my home. And then I do a big clean in my home. I also go ahead and I don't necessarily change all my furniture around now because I'm in a smaller place, but I definitely look at it differently. I definitely change the rugs or do certain things to shift the energy of my home so that that external space gives me the peace of my internal place, so that it gives me the breadcrumb of, oh, something is happening. Something bigger is happening in that exploration and that evolution. The transcending of who I am is already taking shape and form. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is then go ahead and take a look at your life. Go ahead and do a little bit of like a amazing spiritual audit, looking at your life, your home, your family, your money, your health, all of those different areas. And notice what particularly is desiring for either to be let go of or to evolve, right? What area in your life is desiring that change? Because often we think there needs to be a change and we associate it to the thing that is easier, the easiest. So I always look at, for example, if I'm like, my relationship needs to change, and I'm really actually saying Eric needs to change, then I'll look at, okay, is it my relationship that actually needs to be changed? Or is there some other space that I'm totally putting a tripwire so that I don't have to address the change, right? And then when I look at them, like, oh, okay, well, actually, it's not my relationship that needs to change. It's my relationship to myself in this particular area that has nothing to do with my partner that needs to change, right? So that's where you get real clear as to what's happening and where you're projecting and where you're mirroring so that you are protecting yourself from the actual truth. Okay. So that's the second thing. The third is to then begin to realize, okay, from the space, what does it mean to let go or put to rest? What does it mean to take action and honor my deep knowing and go for it? And what does it mean to be in the unknown and honor that I trust by pausing that the alchemical process is already creating the evolution of me or my business or my whatever, right? That requires you not having to do anything, but actually you being your process of evolution. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Enjoy going through this journey of self-discovery, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. And then 6 months later, we'll go through this whole thing again. Enjoy.
It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others and myself so we remember we are collectively woven. If you would like to learn more about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, sacred leadership, business practices, and devoted energy coaching, please make sure you subscribe to Devoted Way Podcast. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would be so appreciative if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram at Devoted Way. If you have any questions you desire to be answered on Devoted Way Podcast, please head over to devotedway.com and send me an email. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a synchronistic new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.